Hey everyone, I'm going to do another lunch break guitar lesson. Today we are going to be working with harmonization of a scale, one of my favorite scales, D Phrygian. I'm going to get away from playing lead because I've just been focusing so much on it, and I wanted to do a lesson that's a little more on chords and chord theory and harmonization, because that's actually what's going to help people write songs. Leads are not necessarily the greatest place to start a composition, although they can be. There are no rules. There are only music theories. There are no music rules. So, D Phrygian, we have the notes. D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C, and then back to D. And I'm going to drop D tuning, which makes it really easy to harmonize these triads because we have two notes that are the same, D and D, and then we have the fifth in there, A. So we have a power chord just with an open string, instead of doing the classic power chord shape, which you're going to have to play on all the other strings. So don't neglect that. But if you're new, it's great to play and drop D to get your right hand going, because your left hand just needs to make a bar and you got a chord. You can add in your pinky and ring finger up on the next octave if you want to get a full sound, but really you can start jamming tunes just so it's a really easy way to get your right hand going, and because you really want to be able to have a nice fluid motion. I'm not playing with a pick, but same idea. But I'm actually working on my open hand playing, so I'm trying not to use a pick, and for our purposes here today, we're going to be just fine. So, we're going to harmonize D Phrygian. Like I said, the notes again are D, you see it? D is an open string, first fret E flat, third fret is F, fifth fret's G, seventh fret's A, eighth fret's B flat, 10th fret C, and then 12th fret you're back to D. Remember, the fretboard on the guitar or the bass repeats after once you get to the 12th fret. It's the same, so everything you play down here you can play up here. It's the exact same. And you can even notice on this guitar where it has its fret markers on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. So, and then they have these markers here, which indicates, so if you're playing on that first marker down here, and you want to go up an octave, just slide up that first marker there, and you're in solo territory. So that's a helpful thing to know. So, anyway, so how do we start forming these chords and getting harmony out of D Phrygian? Well, you start off, you got your D, that's your first note. You skip a note, and you go to F, that's your second note. And then you skip another note, and you go to A. So notice how, because remember the scale is D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C, D again. But to get that first triad, a D minor, it's just D, skip that first E flat, go to your next note, which is F, which is your second note in your chord. So you have D, F, and then you're skipping the G and going to A. Now obviously we can't play a chord, there's no way to do it, so we need to find a way to bring that across multiple strings. And so the way I'm going to do it, this is an interesting voicing. Instead of doing a 1-3-5 voicing, which is, so you have your root, minor third, and your fifth. That's the normal way of voicing it. We're actually going to do it differently. We're going to go up the neck and start our D chord on the 12th fret, and we're going to play the root, and then the fifth, and then the third. It gives you that kind of voicing, which is kind of a spooky, folkier voicing. It's just going to maybe this is more melancholy, but you can voice it in any way you want. And it's a minor scale anyway, so it's going to lend itself to a sadder, more introspective, melancholy tone. And that's really where your ear training is very important, especially major and minor is like really the one thing. Once you get that down, you'll start hearing other chords easier. But listen, so I'll play a major and then I'll play a minor. So that's F major. So I have that F sharp in there. And then there's F minor, which makes that F sharp into an F. You hear that? It's kind of like, oh, instead of, hey, oh, nice and happy, oh. So it's very important that you start making the distinction between major and minor. And so, and there's one more chord variant that we're going to come across in this scale, and it's in the fifth chord, which makes it kind of really weird and interesting because the fifth is usually, it's the dominant chord of the scale. It's what they call the dominant. So when you're playing around, you're playing around on your 1, your 2, 3. Say I want to start opening this up a little bit. I'm going to that dominant chord. So dominant chords push songs forward, but we're going to be dealing with a diminished dominant chord. So, but we'll get to that in just a second. So, the harmonization for Phrygian and D Phrygian, A flat Phrygian, whatever, the chord sequence is going to be the same. You're going to have a minor 1, a major 2, a major 3, a minor 4, a diminished 5, a major 6, and then a minor 7. And that just, the minor major means you're going to play a minor chord or a major chord, or you're going to play that diminished chord on your fifth there. So I'll run you through that. I'm actually going to start up high and move down because that's the way I do things. And if you don't like it, tough. So it starts on your D minor. So just remember, if you want to play a minor, you have your root bar chord, go up 1, 2, 3 frets. There's your minor chord. Major's 4 frets. So it's just moving up your third one thing. So we just went over that. So you start on D minor. And we're just going to move down to C major. Or C minor, excuse me, minor 7. And we're going to go to a major 6. Great. I love the major 6 and a minor 7 cadence. And now for our weird chord, we're going to get our diminished chord, the diminished 5. See how that's ugly? This is nasty sounding, isn't it? Like, not nasty in a good way either. Like, ugh. It's like, geez, Jess, are you playing the wrong chord? No. These are all notes in the scale, therefore this is a viable triad. It's a diminished triad. But watch what happens when I resolve it down to the minor 4. It's like going home, baby. I'll show you that one more time. So we're sitting here, and there's good reasons why this works. And then all my fingers are going to move down one position in the scale, but on 3 strings. And it just, so what you want to do with those diminished chords, because they're just ugly. They're just, no one likes that. So it's like, but it does have one quality that's good. It has a dissonance. And what dissonance does in music is it builds tension. Tension, if you just have nothing but, if you just have resonant sounds, if you're just playing, it's going to be stale. It's not going to, you need to wind people up a little bit and get their emotions going, you know. And it just breathes a different kind of life into it. I'm not going to lie, I really don't like diminished and altered chords. And I hardly ever use them. But I think it's definitely worth knowing, and hopefully I can get to a point where I will start composing with them. I mean, I mostly compose in hard rock, heavy metal, and I mean, in solos, yeah, you could use the diminished, you know, arpeggios and stuff like that. But for harmony, I have a hard time with them. Although it is used in a lot of metal. I'm drawing a blank, but the one that comes off to mind is Mudvayne, especially their bass player, uses the diminished quite a bit. I'm pretty sure that Burnt Burnt Dang Dig, that song, he's slapping and pulling off those diminished chords, which is giving it this, that rank. But that guy's an animal, different story. So anyway, but yeah, so you're harmonizing D minor, C minor, B flat major, A diminished, that's a G minor, F major, and then we're going to go E flat major, which is a big stretch, and then back to D minor, which is the same as it up there. So now that we have our chords, it's just like I was explaining how, you know, you have your lead, if we were playing lead, the notes would be your palette. That's your palette. You can't use anything else. Well, you can, but if you stick with that, it's all going to sound good. So you can move through any one of these chords. Going to sound like it's together, even with that diminished chord. See, I already got something that sounds almost like a song. Throw a couple opens in. There. Let's try to open it up to another part. Try some single picking. So you can just take your palette and start dinking around. That's how I start writing my songs. It's just like, okay, I know I'm in this scale, and I know I have these chords to use. And then, you know, there's no real, obviously there's the tried and true, like the 1, 4, 5, you know, so it's like and I'll go 1 4 5 in D minor, just so we don't have to deal with that diminished fifth. But you know, your 1 4 5s are always have always been, you know, like. I mean, that's like the most common chord progression ever, or the 1 4 6 5 1. So that's how you start working with these chords and harmonies to get them to go. So just remember, take your whatever scale you're working with and write out all your notes, and then start on the first note, skip a note, add that third note, skip a note, add that fifth note. There's your first chord. Go to the second note, skip a note, add the third, skip another note, add the fifth. There's your second chord. So that's the way you harmonize. You don't even really need to know any music theory, except they call it stacking thirds. So you're just going every third. It might be a minor third or major third. That's where it gets tricky. But really, you just skip a note and grab that one. And that is the basics of harmonization. Thanks.